we're working on a project, right? So
Yeah.
any doubt from the previous sessions you have, you can let me know. Yes or no?
Yeah. 1 second. I have doubt. I'm just sharing my screen.
Sure, sure.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
See, I was doing this. Now I was on step of auto wired in
Okay.
this. So here it is. Do we need to create the class session class here or no need?
Actually, we have to add those. Okay, because since
Mhm.
we have not added the XML files right yet. Okay, so when you added those XML files, then it will automatically install the required classes. You don't have to do it manually. Okay.
So right now no need. Huh?
Now, today I will let you know. Okay, so today we will write the XML classes as well, so that all the errors which we have seen in the these it will be removed. Okay,
Okay.
yeah. So as such, you don't need to remember those XMLs, but you will able to get the idea why we're adding those, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Okay, let's start. Let me share my screen. Okay, even after that, if after add XML you will still getting the errors, just let me know. Okay, we can discuss that.
Okay.
Great. Okay, so you can stop share. Let me share my screen. Thanks. So let me share my screen. So I hope you can see my Eclipse, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So so we start on the project. The first step was to create a project, right? And since we are creating a Maven project, we learn that Maven is a built automation and dependency management tool for Java, right? So it's like the project manager. It will pull the libraries whatever you need, right? Like in this we need the Spring Hibernate, right? So it will build our project, right? It organize the code in a standard structure. Okay, and all this is done using the simple file which is the pom.xml,
Yeah.
which is the project object model to do all this stuff, right? So we have created the project, right? You can whenever you want to create, you can click on the file option, new. Since it's a Maven, you can click on Maven, right? Then you can provide the group ID and the class ID, right? It's like you've chosen the group, I think com.student app, I think, for the group ID, and the artifact ID is a student management. Version and packaging is by default. You can click on that. Okay, so it will give you this type of structure. When you build, you will get the one you can see this. If you close this, one is for the main Java file, one is for the test file, and one the resources file, right? Okay, so now let's go back.
So
So basically what
where is the service file in this service?
okay, so we have to, when you open main.java, so we have to get manually the data layer, the controller layer, the service layers, and model layer. We have to create it ourselves. So we have created that in the previous sessions, remember?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so we have to create by that ourselves. Okay. Okay, this is empty, so just give me one. Java is a bit default one. The same shit you can here see here. Okay, let's continue. Okay, so after that we have seen we need certain dependency which we can add in the pom.xml, and it will be automatically added, right? So this is just like the brain of your Maven project, right? So you can define the project information like the name and the version, the dependency, the plugins, the repositories, right? So let's
Yeah.
write those. Okay, so first of all, what we need is let's understand which dependency we need, right? Dependency which we need to add in this project. Basically, the first one is the Spring MVC dependency. Okay, so why we need Spring MVC dependency? Because Spring MVC will help us to handle the HTTP requests. Okay, we can process the business logic and we can return a response, usually a view in like a JSP, right? So we can, for with the help of that, we can add various annotators, right? Annotations like add that controller, add that request mapping, add that model view, right? And dispatch servlet support as well, right? So I've seen currently we've used that, but we're getting the error because we're not added the uh, dependency in the XML, right? And second thing is about the Hibernate dependency, right? Because we want a Java classes, right? So directly with the database tables, we can use that. So it's like a ORM, object relation mapping we have. And we've used the annotation like add the entity, add the table, add the ID, right? So with the help of that, we can use that. We have this like a session management. Okay. And we can so we can use the MySQL connect if you're connecting the MySQL, or we can use H2 for the in-memory DB, right? It's depend. Okay. And then we want a Java server pages as standard library as well, JSTL. Okay, so that we can use the JSPs to create the front end, right? So JSTL help us to loop over the data like for each, right? We have the display the values and control logic and what we need. So all we have to define that in this format XML, right? So here you can add the dependency folder. So dependency in this you have to define it. Okay, so you can list the various dependency which you need. Okay, so the first one we need is a, as I just told you, is a Spring MVC. Okay, so the other one which we need is the Hibernate core. It's dependency, so yes, multiple dependency we're writing. Okay, apart from these, okay, so we can add the MySQL if we, later if you want to connect to the MySQL, we can use this, right? So currently I'm writing MySQL as well. MySQL JDBC driver. And another is we need for the displaying the JSP pages, we need JSTL as well. So we need JSTL. Okay. So we need to add these dependency, and also we need the servlet API as well. Servlet API. Okay, so this is provided by the servers like Jomcat, right? Then you can, okay, so just like this project we have to which we created, we have the group ID and this artifact ID and version, right? So for adding these dependency, you have to also add their group ID, their artifact and the version, okay, which you can easily find online, right? What is standard one, current version is, okay, you can search that, you can type the name and it will just print it out, right? So let's add the corresponding dependency. You can add dependency. Okay, and then for each dependency you have to mention the group ID. Okay, and the next you have to add the artifact ID. Artifact ID, and then you have is the version. Okay, the same thing you need for the other as well. For this as well, for this as well, and for this as well, and for this as well. Okay, so for the MVC Spring MVC, we have org dot Spring framework. For the artifact ID, you can write the Spring Web MVC, Web MVC. Okay, and then you can specify the version as well. Okay, so let me just give me a moment. Yeah, so you can specify the version as well, which is uh 5.3.29. Okay, so similarly for the other as well, so you can write their corresponding group ID. Like for the Hibernate, we have the org.hibernate. Okay, as I told you, you don't need to remember these. Okay, so it's clearly available online, the information, the group ID and artifact ID. Okay, the version you can check as well online, what's the current online version, right? So similarly you can go for the Hibernate core and you can see this will add the automatically version as well. Okay, so this one is okay. And next thing which you can is the MySQL JDBC. So we have the with MySQL, and for the artifact ID is MySQL connector Java only. Automatic version they will add, right? So let me remove this. And then next we have is the Java X, sorry, Java X servlet. Okay, and then we have artifact ID, which is JSTL only. Okay, and version 1.2, fine. Okay, then last one is servlet API. So you can again use Java X dot servlet. Okay, I'm gonna save this, and then you can provide the artifact ID, which is Java X dot servlet API version. It automatically added. So let's remove the last one. Sorry. Okay, so we have added a dependency. So when you save this file, let me save this file. Okay, this double N here. Let me remove one. Yeah. So when we save the .xml, Maven will connect this to the Maven Center repository, right? It will download all the required jars to your local .m2 directory and will link them to the project class path, right? So now your project is ready to handle the Spring MVC, right? Plus Hibernate plus MySQL connection if you have, and also the Vue JSTLs, right? Okay.
What
So
is this JSTL?
it basically when we want to render the front end, right? I told you in this case in Java we're not using the HTML, we will be getting the JSP views, right? Okay, in
Yeah.
which we're combining the Java code as well as the HTML. That is a JSP views which we create, and for this rendering that we need JSTL.
Okay. For the front end part.
Yeah, for the rendering the front end part. Exactly. Is it clear?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a Java server pages standard tag library, right?
Okay.
Yeah, great.
And servlet API for the interaction, for the update, get, crude operation. Correct?
Yeah, so it is provided by the server itself, like Tomcat, etc.
Tomcat Apache.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. For starting server purpose only. So these are the so you don't have to manually install the jars and put inside the folder. So you can just write in the this pom.xml. The Maven will do rest part, right? It automatically download from the Maven Center repository. Okay, so just
Okay.
that thing you have to keep in mind, right?
Okay. These all are
Yeah.
dependencies for
Yeah,
this.
for this is particular project, right? For
Yeah.
each project, depending on the scenario, it may vary. Okay, you
Yeah.
need
Yeah.
to remove certain uh, and you can add certain dependency, right, depending on the project, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so let's start right now. So this part is clear.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great. So after this what we have more is, okay, so after that what we did, so we need to configure the web.xml as well to define the dispatcher servlet, right?
Yeah.
So okay, now as I told you earlier, the heart of the Spring MVC is a dispatcher servlet, right?
Yeah.
Like controller, right? So let's see that. So for that you need to configure the web.xml so that we can define the dispatcher servlet and break down everything you see word by word, right? So if someone asks you what is web.xml, right? So it is like a deployment descriptor, right? Basically if we have inside the web app, let me just create it, main Java, let me just create new folder here. Hmm. I think, okay, let's manually create that if it's not visible there. Okay, just like if we have the main Java and we have that, so we need to create for the otherwise. Let's make it a new folder. Okay, so inside this we need file which is web.xml. Okay. So basically, the folder structure you've seen that we have the main folder, test folder, right? And we created this one, web.xml part. Okay, now let's see further. So I told you in this we will define our dispatcher servlet, right? So if you don't remember, I don't know what is dispatcher servlet, we discussed in the starting lecture, right? So it is like the main traffic cop, right? Of this, like it will receive all the incoming HTTP requests, right? It will figure out which controller should handle them, right? It will delegate this to the right view, which view to display. Okay, so I told you whenever there is a client request, let's say there's a client request to get all data or to maybe the create new data, update, delete, so any request we have, it will first go to your dispatcher servlet. Okay, and then dispatcher servlet will go to the controller. Okay, with business logics to go for, right? And then it will decide the view which you want to see, and then it will give back a response, right? So what we'll do in web.xml, in this you have to register and map the dispatch servlet so the servers know to load the Spring when the app start, right? So it will, we need to use the Spring to handle all the requests like slash add slash students, all that's right. Okay, and what is the key part of the let's see that. Okay, so let's do that web app. Okay, so first thing which you need to do is here is to register the dispatcher servlet. Okay, and the next thing is to, you need to load the Spring configuration file on the starting when we started, right? So for that, this is the next step. You have to load Spring config file on startup. Okay, and then last I told you, you have to map the dispatcher servlet to the URL pattern. Okay, so like this is a particular URL what to call, right, what not to call. So next you will map the dispatchers servlet to URL pattern. Okay, okay, let's see this now. How will we accomplish this? Okay, firstly I told you, you have to register servlet. Okay, so we're getting a servlet, and then you have to load the Spring configuration file as well. So we'll get a servlet. Inside this, you can define the servlet name. Okay, let's give it this Spring only. Okay, and then you have to provide a Spring class. Okay, so it is the org dot Spring framework dot web dot servlet dot dispatcher servlet. Okay, yeah. Okay, so you have to first register this servlet. This is a name and this is a class from which it's coming from. Then you have to load the Spring conversion file on the start, right? What happened? Okay,
So how you will register? Here you are loading the config file, Spring config file.
so you have registering it that this is the name of the servlet and this is a class from which we need to register it, right? So it's getting the detail, all the specific detail from this. Okay, so in this source we have all the required information. We have yet not loaded a Spring config file. Okay,
Okay.
yeah, so for that we need to add another tag. Okay, let me just tell you. Yeah, this is just registering part. For loading part, okay, so you have to use another tag which is load on startup. Okay, you have to write the value 1. Yeah, okay. Now to map the dispatch servlet to the URL patterns, you have to specify the name. Okay, and to which URL pattern you want to specify that. You can also define that. Okay, so you need to have a this. Let me just write it. The servlet. Then for the this mapping. Okay, so you will have the servlet mapping. Okay, in this, firstly you can specify the servlet name. Okay, servlet name you can use this above one Spring. Okay, so here you are registering and loading this. Okay, and then here you're mapping it. Okay, so you can specify the URL pattern with which you want to map it to. Let's say URL pattern. Okay, so that is less slash. Okay, so all the paths having slash will be handled by this servlet. Okay, okay, let me just give you a overview of this code again. So basically first we have the servlet. So this will tell the server that I am creating a new servlet with the name Spring, okay, that uses a dispatcher servlet class from this Spring. Okay, now when we write a servlet name, this is just a name, right? You can call it anything. Okay, but conventionally we use Spring only. Okay, and servlet class basically is the actual class which is provided by the Spring that do all the MVC things, right? Okay, and the load on the startup, okay, is just like the which the one means basically we load the server as soon as the server starts. Okay, not when the first request comes in, right? So it start automatically whenever the server starts. And servlet mapping is just tell the servlet container that for any URL pattern slash anything, okay, we will let the dispatch servlet handle it. Okay, okay, and I understand this is a little boring or maybe confusing for you at first, but yeah, so this you don't have to cram. Okay, this is a very I'd say this is standard stuff, right? So every time you create a project, you have to do this stuff. Okay, okay. XML files are not what you can, let's say, do the mastering. It's just the logical stuff which you understand that it need to be there, right, to work properly. Okay, okay. Because that's why I started with the other files, like creating the model first, then the controller and service, right? So that I don't want you to get confused in the first day, right? Now you got the idea, so you know what you need to add. Okay, now you know why we need Pomlet XML, XML, right? Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so that will be in a better way. Okay, now I told you this thing, right? Okay, so what is going on behind the scenes? Let's see, go to the website, let's say http localhost 8000 slash student management slash ad, right? So let's server, what we do, it a server will check the your web.xml. It will find the dispatcher servlet. Okay, and it will load the Spring configuration files, and it will invoke the current correct controller. Okay, that's a Spring in control now. Okay, okay, now let's see the next thing.
So in the third step, what it will do, it will load the correct Spring
Yes, no, no. Third
servlet.
step is map. Okay, let's say you want to. Okay, so currently I have for all the URLs having slash. Okay, it will be using the this servlet, which is Spring one. Okay, you can define the different one as well, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
That is what the purpose is. Okay,
So in the second step, it will load the files, this Spring files. Then in the third step, it will map the servlet.
can you repeat what you said?
In the first step,
Hmm.
register the dispatcher servlet.
Hmm.
Then in the second one, it will load the Spring config files
Yes,
uh, on startup. In the third step, it will map the servlet to the dispatcher servlet.
correct.
Yeah,
Correct URL
servlet to the
patterns. Yeah,
URL. Yeah.
yes, exactly. So
So
any
you
doubt in this?
so URL means the website
Oh,
URL,
okay. No, no.
right?
Yeah, let's say you are calling any request. Let's say you're sending the request at the rate slash ad, or sending a request at slash, let's say maybe many things. Let's say student management. You have to send the request in this form now. So
API,
when you have this,
API, yeah.
yeah, for the API one I'm talking about. So all the requests will be handled by this servlet. Okay. So now in this servlet, this servlet, we will be defining if we because in remember in the controllers we have defined if we have this request, call this function, right?
Hmm.
Okay, that's what is going on. So it's saying that use this dispatcher servlet to handle all the requests, and then inside that dispatcher servlet we see which controller function to go for.
So you
Okay,
mean we define the function, then inside we need to call
yeah,
to particular method. Then
yeah. Herely we're just telling the okay, so we don't need to do anything. We're telling that to this Spring MVC to handle everything. We're just telling that we have created this. First of all we're telling that we will be using Spring MVC For that, we create a dispatcher servlet. Okay, we uh, register that. Okay, first thing, and then we using it or pre-built with this class which is already there. Okay, and we start it at as soon as we start a server. Right now, we saying we for all the URLs which match this, it will call this servlet, right? So we are going to use all the controllers which are defined in this servlet for handling our request. Okay, so whatever request we come, let's say get request, okay, at particular path, post request at particular path will be handled by this servlet. Okay, and how it will be defined in this servlet. Okay, okay, which we'll see soon. Okay, how?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, next we will now see. So now we need to create this now servlet XML file as well. Okay, where you will define all the your controllers. Now things will become more clear. So when you go to this, just give me a minute. Now you have given the name of the servlet is Spring, right? So whenever whatever you can give any name, but this one is standard. Okay, so if you given the name to the servlet Spring, you need to have the configuration file with the name Spring hyphen servlet. Okay, so here you will be creating the file with the name new file Spring. What are the name you have given to servlet as hyphen servlet dot xml. Okay, okay. So what you said, okay. So in this web.xml, you said, okay, you have this dispatch servlet of name Spring. Okay, you start. Okay, you're coming. It is defining from the class dispatch servlet. It start as soon as the server start, and for all the path you're using the servlet. Okay, now where you define the path, you need to define this in this configuration file. Now this is we defining what this Spring servlet look like. Okay, here we're defining this. Okay, here will tell us that Spring MVC, okay, so that whatever the request comes, how to handle that. Okay, it's like the our control center. Okay, so it will tell us where to find your controllers. Okay, so we are not defining controllers, we tell us the locations where are the controllers, how to resolve the views. It will enable the annotation based wiring, right? It configure things like message converters. We will I will explain a little bit. Okay, don't worry. Let's start this. So let me just write over here. So we have the beans class. So basically you have to write the first XML namespaces here. Okay. So for that we have the XMLNS, right? So here, let me just write over here. Let me first explain, then I will write so that it will be more clear to you. Okay. So for we have the various XML namespaces we have. Okay. So we have XMLNS. Okay. We have the beans. Okay. We have the context. Okay. Okay. Okay, so I'm telling you first thing, so all the XML files, whatever writing, you don't need to cram it. Okay, so the main focus you have to give is to your model, your controllers, your services. That is more part as a developers you need to focus on. Okay, that is where business logics go, right? I'm writing it from the as XML so that you can better understand them. Okay, just understand them for the once and just okay. Okay, you need to pay attention, but don't pay much attention. That's what I'm saying, right? You need to mostly you need to give focus on the controller services and the your view part. Okay, that is the more things you need to be working on. Okay, these things will remain same for all the projects. Yeah, so don't need to be that. Okay, I know it will be a little tough for the first time. Okay, if you're working with, but yeah, it will be you get to used for this, right? Okay, now first of all, we have these XML namespaces. So for XML is to declare which XML schema you are using. Okay, so it will basically need it for the Spring features. Let me just write it so that you can remember it. So it will basically declares the which XML schema you you are using. Okay, it's basically it's the intert for the Spring features. Okay, then we have beans. Beans basically allow you to define spring beans manually, the old way. Okay, and then we have the context. Basically it will enables the component scanning. So remember we've got various components like controller services, right? So Spring N find that with this context. Okay, so component scanning we can do that, right? So all the controller services we can find that. And then we have the MVC. MVC is basically enable the Spring MVC feature. It will enable the Spring MVC specific features. Okay, so what are those specific features? Specific features. Okay, just like in context, we can scan this with the annotation like Spring and finds, mm, like at that controllers we have, right, which we define at the services. Okay, etc. Similarly here, it can find the annotators like request mapping, like the MVC specific at that request mapping. Okay, so that we have, or we can have the static resource resounding and so on and so. Okay. Okay, so now inside this bean, you can usually add this MVC. Let me just write over here MVC colon annotation driven. Okay, so basically what it does, it will tell the Spring, please recognize annotations like add request mapping, get mapping, post mapping, right? And you have the set the component scanning, right? So context, you can write the, so this is for the context component scan, base packaging you can give, right? So it will tell this that scan this package and all the sub packages for the annotated classes like controllers, service, and repository, right? And you can set configure the view resolver as well, right? Okay, you can tell us whenever there is a when a controller returns a view name like home. Okay, you can convert it to the something like, because we have defined the views inside the in certain folder, right? Let's say web in views. Okay, so when we go here, you can see this. So inside this we'll create a new folder for the views as well. Okay, so we will tell here that where to look for those views, because in controllers we just returning the name of the view, right? Where to find that exact location of that, it will be defined here. Okay, so now let me write the full this code. Okay, you get a little bit idea. Okay, so you have bean class. Okay, so in this bean class also you write certain things. I told you XMLs and this. So you also need to write the, sorry, XMLNS MVC. Also MVC we have, context we have, XLMNS context we have, and we have XMLNS XSI, and then we also have the exercise context schema. Okay, so schema location. Okay, so this is for the one bean. Okay, I will add the values later. So after that, what you have to do is you have to, as I just told you, you have to enable the annotation like controllers, add that controllers, right? Okay, so for that you have to write like this, MVC annotation driven. Okay, and next we have is the, we need to scan this, also scan your base package for the enriched classes. Okay, so you can define the base package. Remember, so we have the what are the name we have given, com. Okay, com.student app we have, right? So let's write it. So you're specifying the context. So okay, so we are doing the component scan. Okay, to find all the annotator files in this base package, right? So you can specify the base package here. Okay, so base package com.student app. Okay, and next thing we have is these, we can to set up the JSP view resolver. Okay, here you can specify this bean class. Okay, in this you can specify the property. Okay, so in the first property you have the name. Okay, specify the prefix where we need to look for prefix. Okay, so it values, I told you we will get a new folder inside the web in views. Okay, so we'll specify that value, which will be slash web inf slash views slash. So it will look inside this one. Okay, and then we have the property with the names. Okay, so what it works, so when we get a controller, you tell us which view to use for. Like says return home, right? So it will not tell us the exact path, so you need to add this prefix. Okay, inside this we will have that view, and secondly it will not add the this extension as well, so dot JSP, so you need to add suffix yourself as well. So you're adding the prefix and suffix both. So for suffix, sorry, this for suffix you will write the value dot JSP. Okay, yeah, let's now write the values for these as well. Okay, for Spring MVC, you need to write these values as well. So it's very simple. HTTP
Why we are using
colon.
bean classes here?
Yes,
Bean. Why we are using bean words here? This bean class.
that is a syntax when we write this configuration, right? Spring servlets. So you have to define this property, like when you have the view, so from which location it's coming from, right? So when you have to scan this, from which base package you have to go through, right? So you have to enable the certain annotations. Okay, so they are already defined. Okay, so you're just telling you from where to getting the exact definitions for those beans, or maybe the MVC, maybe the context, or maybe the what a schema it is, right? So it's already there. You have to just write the values in these. You have to provide these details every time, and this usually remain the same. Okay,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah. Uh, so we write the www dot spring framework, okay, dot org, so schema. Okay, so whenever also you create a new project, no one is expecting you to write all the XML file yourself. Okay, maybe you take web.xml, maybe pom.xml, maybe this any servlet file, right? So no one expect you. Okay, so main focus is pay to the controllers, services, models, and GSPs ones. Okay, that is more important, or maybe the database connection we have later, right? Okay,
Okay.
yeah. So these files I will share with you. Don't worry. Okay.
Okay.
So for this, we have this Spring framework. If there is any spelling mistake, please check that as well. Okay, so framework.org slash schema slash MSC. Yeah. For this one also we have http slash www dot spring framework dot org slash schema slash context. For this we have http www.w3.org slash 2001 slash xml schema hyphen instance. Okay, so then you can specify the locations. Okay, so we have http colon slash slash www dot spring frame framework dot org slash schema slash beans. Okay, let me just copy this. So we have spring beans dot xst. Then we have context. Then we have context spring context dot xst. Then we have MVC. So basically three things: beans, your context, and your MVC part. Spring ms dot x. So you you can write here this. You're writing the XML code. Okay, that is fine. Okay, so we have defined that we need to you enable the annotations. Okay, so that we can access this. Okay, then what if anything is left? Let me check it.
The last line, it's some red, how it will. uh,
Maybe he's not able to download it. No worry, we'll manually those to stuff if something is not able to download, right? So don't worry, we'll refresh the project. Let me check over here.
How you are doing? 1 second, can you go again?
No, no, I'm just refreshing the project.
Okay,
Yeah, just right click over there, go to Maven and just update the project.
okay,
Okay, you can update the project configuration from this, refresh the workspace and clean it, right?
okay.
Great. Okay, so for that, let's try that you're using the XML code. Okay, you can specify the version that I'm using, first version. You can also write the encoding. Okay, just like in HTML, you write the octave declaration, na? Like that same. You can tell here UTF 8 if required. Let me remove this comment part. Okay. Okay, we'll see you. Okay, why it's not working? So, okay, so ambitions we are okay. Now let's try to configure the view resolver in this Spring Servlet XMLs. Okay, so this is very crucial and beautiful piece of that, right? Okay, so view resolver is this, okay, like the bridge between your controllers and the actual JSP view. Okay, so I told you earlier as well, the view is like a translator. It converts logical view in views names returned by the controller into the real JSP views, right?
Yeah.
So which you added here as well, right? So what are the views that the control is returning? You're specifying the prefix as well as the suffix for that, right?
Hmm.
Okay. So beans here specifically means that you're declaring a Spring Bean, okay, of this class internal resolver view controller. Okay, so you have to mention the class here as well. Okay, for org dot Spring framework dot web servlet, okay, dot view dot internal resource view resolver. Okay, so you declare basically declaring a Spring Bean of this particular class, okay, which is internal resource view resolver. Okay, and then this will tell in basically Spring that uses built-in class to resolve the view names using the internal resources like JSP, right? Okay, so it will add the prefix, okay, as well as suffix. Okay, let's say if the control is returning home, it will add it will make slash web in slash view slash home dot JSP. Okay, is it fine?
Yeah.
Okay, so okay, so for that you need to have now create a folder inside this one folder, which is new folder, which is the views. So inside that you will add all the views, all the JSP files. Okay, here. Okay, so this view resolve basically keeps control code clean. It will make the project maintainable, as well as will boost the security, right? Because we are adding everything via the web in, right? Yeah, it's a best practice for the Spring based. Okay, yeah. So end out so far. And you're talking about the session, right? I will also configure that. Don't worry. Okay. Okay. Now next thing. Okay. So you need to configure the data source, the session factory, as well as the transaction manager. Okay, in your Spring Servlet XML, or you can get a separate XML as well for that. Hibernate context XML. This is depending on you. Okay. So first thing you have to now. Let's define it. Just a minute. Let's define the new bean here. Okay. So I now you can give the ID as this to the data source. Okay, and you can give the class. Okay, so here also you will be using the inbuilt class. Okay, that is org dot apache dot commons dot db pc2 dot basic data source. Okay, no need to remember the names. Okay, I'm telling it again. Just don't get confused, getting confused by the name. Okay, so basically you have to remember write the properties for the same. Okay, like you will mention the driver class name, the URL, the username, and the password, right? Okay, for accessing the database, right? So let me write the name as a driver class name. Okay, that is the one thing. Okay, okay, you can directly write the value here as well. Okay, let's, you can specify the value. Yeah, property. Okay, so you can specify the URL as well. Now the name will become the URL. Okay, for the same driver class you mention the name and then you have to specify URL. Okay, so you can specify the value here. Okay, and then next we have is the your username and password, so you can specify the property name, which is username. Okay, and you can specify the value. Okay, and the next thing we have is a password name, password, and you can specify the value. Okay, so basically the basic data source is the connection pool, right? You're from the Apache DBCP, right? And then we have the database driver class name, and there is a location of that, and then with the username and password for your DB connection. Okay, DB credentials. Okay, let's keep the username root only. Okay, and you can make the password only for the easy members. You can change it, or you can fetch it from the another file as well, right? And then we have the URL for this. We have the JDBC. Okay, colon MySQL. Okay, colon / local host. Colon. The port number is by default is 3306 for the MySQL. Then we have the slash student DB. Okay. Then we have the value name of this. You can give is the com dot mysql dot cj dot jdbc dot driver. Okay. Yeah. Okay. This is the one thing for the your data source. Okay, the next thing is your session factory. Okay, and then we have the transaction manager. Okay, then first let's go for the transaction manager. In that you will be using session factory. Let's define session factory. So we're getting now bean for the session factory, so you can give the ID, let's say session factory. Okay, you can give the class. Okay, so next what you can do here, you can specify the property again. Okay, so in property you can specify the name. Again you can specify the data source. Okay, next okay, you can specify the value as well, or you can reference the this. Okay, so data, so we're referring this data source, right? So you can directly write it. So referring the data source. Okay, and you can close over here. Okay, then you have to write mention the package which you scan, which is your base package, that is com.super student app.model, right? So here you will add it. Okay, so next property, which is the package to scan. Okay, which is which one? The value you can specify is in com dot student app.model. Okay, the next we have is a property with the name hibernate properties. Okay, inside that you have to write pass the different props. Okay, so you will be writing the props here. Okay, the first prop is again same thing, you can first with the key and the value, right? So the key will be hibernate dialect. Okay, and then you can specify the prop key hibernate dot hdm2 ddl dot auto. So write update here, and then it's update. Then we have the prop key hibernate dot show underscore sql. We have the true. Then we have the org dot hibernate dot dialect dot mysql 8 dialect. Okay, and then we forgot to add the class. Let's add it now. So basically we're using the local session factory bean. So you have to write org dot spring framework dot org dot hibernate 5 dot local session factory. The local session factory beans basically integrating the integrating the hibernate with spring, right? And then data source is the we are using the data source bean above, right? And packages can basically wherever you have added entity class, right? And hibernate properties, we have writing the hibernate configuration like the dialect, the ddl behavior or sql logging, right? And then we have the transaction management to keep our data safe. Okay, so you can write it here. So you can write in the, you can control the beginning, you can commit and the rollback of the transaction. So let's specify the bean. So we can specify the id, so which is the transaction management transaction manager. So we have the class here, which is the class. Let's give the class. Okay, so we'll write it later. Then after the class we have the property. Let's specify the property here, which is the name. You can give the session factory. Okay, and then you can refer the session factory, which is created above. Okay, so just give session factory. Okay, so that is thing. Then you
So,
can give the class
so,
for this.
so
Yeah,
we are creating view resolver. Then after the data source, then after that we are injecting via
we are
session factory.
not
Hmm?
creating it first of all.
It will be predefined. Here we are creating
No, no,
only.
no, we're not creating it. Okay, let me tell you. So remember, we have using the annotations. Okay, we have used the annotation like add that entity, right? We have used. We will getting the JSP views. I have used the annotations like at the rate transaction trans. I don't know if you have used it, but we will use the annotations, right? So how will that annotations will work? Okay, so they are already defined. Okay, in certain classes like this. Okay, you are asking about the added and session annotation, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Right, so these all are already defined, so we have to mention it here in this xml files, right? From which class they are coming from. Okay, in which where are you referring them, right? So we have to provide that access here, okay? This
Okay.
so that annotation will work, okay?
Okay.
Okay. So because in our code, what we do usually, we use the annotations blind. The working is all the logic bind in XML. So in XMS, you have defining them like this web.xml. In the web.xml, you're telling that whenever you start the server, okay, so you will use a dispatch servlet to handle all the request, okay.
Hmm.
Now how this handling, okay, for that you will defining this servlet here. In the servlet I'm telling that whatever the JSP file it is, it will coming from this folder, right? So it need to scan all the annotations, okay, it need to enable the MVC so that I can get the add that controller, add this service. It will scan automatically. It will scan whole project and find where are those annotations, add the control, add the service. It will scan all the requested mapping, etc., right? Similarly, for the database connection, it will directly provide the MySQL connection with this username and password, right? Okay. For session factory, it's getting like this by using the details. Okay. So because add the entity is defined basically in this right com.standard student model one. If you have
Yeah, yeah,
seen here, if right, right, you can see the entity here we have, right? Yeah.
yeah.
So we are not creating it, we are telling it those annotations from where we have just refer them, right? And how we're using them. This is it. Now in session management transaction let's say we are performing the ATM operation, right? We are withdrawing and depositing, right? So
No,
it
my
need to be.
question, we need to remember all this, or it
No,
will
no, I
be
just
done?
told you in the beginning itself. XML files you don't have to remember or cram anything. Just focus. You have to just focus on your controller, services, and model part and business logic part, right? So this part remain the things, okay? In all the Spring MVC project, okay? You don't need to cram them. It will be pre-set up with these files, XML files, okay? Okay.
Okay. Just we need to fill up the particular value.
No, not even to fill that. It will remain the same for all the projects, okay?
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and mostly setups has come with these XMS pre-filled, right? So I'm writing that from scratch so that you can get an idea.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
understand. Yeah, understand. Yeah.
Yeah. So next time you build it, you will have this XMS file with you. You just need to focus on your model creation. Then next move to your controller services on these files only. Okay, that is more important. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm also writing this for one time. In other next projects, we are not getting it from scratch. Okay, because we already have that. We will be using it again. Okay, very simple. Okay,
Okay.
let me write it the class. Okay, so we'll be writing like org. Okay. Okay, if I'm doing this in the very beginning, I know it will be tough for you to understand what is going on, right? That's why. So spring framework dot orm dot hibernate 5 dot hibernate transaction manager. Okay. Yeah. So we have the Hibernate Transaction Manager. Okay, so we will integrate this Hibernate with the Spring's transaction support as well, right? We linked it to the session factory. Okay. So next we have this. So we have done this thing. Okay. So firstly, we need to connect to the database. Okay. So we will manage the Hibernate sessions, and we will have the transaction management to commit or roll back the transaction safely, right?
So we have only one property in transaction manager.
Yeah, because okay, so actually it's already defined in those classes. We are referring to these classes, right? So in this
Hmm.
class, session factory, we have everything which we need, right? And also transaction manager in this class is already defined, right? But for this to work, we need just one extra property, which is which session factory we are referring. So telling that, yeah, we are referring to this session
Okay.
factory. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, is
Yeah.
it clear? Great. Okay, so now for now, let me just share you the web.xml and the spring dot this fourth file. Just go through those files, okay? And if you face any difficulty, just let me know, okay? Let me share chat. Okay, so both file I'm sharing in the chat, just go through them once. Okay, then we will proceed further. Okay, is it done? I don't think so. Done. Let me just share it in the parts. Still not able to share. Okay, done. Yeah. So just go through them. Okay, for 5 to 10 minutes. Then we'll continue. Okay,
Okay.
great.
Hello. 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 Hello, hello.
Yeah, hi, Pawan. Is it done?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Actually.
Okay.
I have one request, Abhishek. When you are dropping the file, na, either write the name of the file about to that. Otherwise, in other way, you can save the file, then share that text file. Because see, in the last file also, the everything was. All the I was not able to differentiate. It took some time actually because.
Yeah,
Uh,
hi Pawan. Can you repeat again? I got disconnected.
Actually, whenever you are pasting the content, na, you can either do one thing, you save the file and then just drop that file. That will be
Okay,
good.
okay. Maybe the formatting issue is there. Let me do one thing. I will create a doc file, and in that I will paste all the
Yeah,
code, and I will share you that thing of the doc. Okay.
yeah, yeah.
And
That's
for the project as well, when we're done with the project, I will create a zip and send the project as well. Don't worry for the same.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to ask?
No, no. Thank you.
Great. Yeah. Let's continue then. So far, I hope you get the idea now what we did in the POM.xml, what we did in web.xml, and what we did in the Spring Servlet.xml, right? Not completely a rough idea. You
One
may
second, one second. First, we created wave.xml. Then, what about the second?
okay. So firstly, we need to add dependencies in the POM.xml, right? Remember?
Hmm. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Then in you have written the web.xml, right?
Wave.xml.
Web.xml is just you have registered the dispatcher servlet. Okay.
Dispatcher servlet and loaded, and then after that, is
You added yeah mapping you have done, right? For all the
mapping.
URLs you will be using this servlet. Okay.
Hmm.
Then thirdly you define that dispatcher servlet. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, this three thing. Okay. Okay, this one with this your annotations will work fine, right? Okay.
Yeah, you have copy paste only two files, no? Second and third, I think. No.
Pom.xml is left, right? Okay, I will do in doc only. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
think if
fine.
you're not getting in the correct format, then we can do in the doc. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Great. Okay, now let's go through what we did in the let me share my screen first. Okay, so we have this one. Okay, if I go through that, so let me go to the model one. We have Spring with this, right? Okay, so what I did was, okay, uh, okay. See, so we have this student Java, right? Basically, what we did was this: we will create a student class that will represent an entity. Okay, so we'll use the JPA Java Persistence API annotations so that you can map this class and its field to the database table and columns, right? Okay, so we created in packaged model. Instead that we have the class student, we have added the annotation like entity and the table. The name is student, right? Then we have added the fields like ID, name, email, course. Okay, we added the constructors, default constructor, parameters constructor, and getter and setter methods. Very simple, right?
Hmm.
Okay, and then we have the toString function, so that whenever we get an object of this class, we get this message. Okay, we printing the ID of the student and the details like name, emails, and the course. Okay, and we have made this ID as the ID, that is the primary key it need to be, and it need to be generated and automatically, right? That's the key logic here. Okay, so the entity basic is the this entity which we have added the annotation here is the hibernate annotations, right? That will mark this class an entity. Okay, so you can import it as well. Okay, and the next we have is this table. So let me import it from Java Expo. Okay, gen from the table as well. Okay, the next we have the ID. You can import these as well. Okay, so you get the recommendation of the same. Okay, when you hover over that. Okay, yeah. So as I told you, this added entity is the Hibernate annotation that marks this class as an entity. And Hibernate will map this class to the table in your database, right? So without this, Hibernate will not be know that it need to interact with the database, right? Then we have added table name is equal to students, right? Okay, so basically this is a table mapping. This will tell the Hibernate that this class correspond to the students table in your database, right?
Hmm.
Okay, and then what we have done is added id is like a primary key. Okay, so this annotation basically indicate that this field is a primary key of the table. Okay, and next we have added generate value strategy is equal to generate type identity. So this is an auto increment like thing, right? It will tell Hibernate to the auto generate the id value using the database auto increment strategy, right? Then we have the fields like email, name, and the course. Okay, so these are the attributes of the student identity. Okay, so each one is mapped to the column in the student's name is equal to name mapped to the name, an email to the email, and it's like that. Okay, so since we have not added the annotation, because Hibernate will automatically map these fields to the columns, okay, which is the same name. Okay, and then we have the default constructor as well as the parameterized constructor. Okay, a default constructor is required by Hibernate for creating the object via the reflection, and the parameters constructor make it easy to initiate a student object with specific values. Okay, and then we have the getter and setter methods, okay, to access and modify the fields of the student class objects. Okay, and it's important for the Hibernate as well as for the Java Beans conventions. Okay, and then lastly we have added a method added over a toString. So basically this is a method to print out the human readable version of the student object. Okay, so this will basically help us in debugging and logging as well, right? Okay, so what thing I think it's a very simple enough. Let's say you have some database. Okay, so in a single database, if you have multiple tables, let's say you tomorrow you're making a more complex project, let's say e-commerce, right? In that you have a customer table, you have the product table, a lot more table, right? So for that you will create a separate of classes for each model in this uh, model folder, right? This is one only student, but later you can have multiples, right? You can have product, you can have the customer, and a lot more, right? You can have this can be the student, you can have the teacher, you can have the school, different models, right? In each, make sure if you're making the and every entity must have the primary key. Okay, so Hibernate uses reflection to create the instances of your class and maps the value from the database to the object, right? Okay, so once we are done with this, what we have done later after that, okay, we have created a student. Once we created a student class, we have moved toward the DAO classes. Okay, then you have to know how to manipulate that. So I told you that for the manipulations, what you need to do. Okay, you can get all the data, you can get particular data, you can update it, you can delete it, you can create it, right? So these are operation you're performing with this, right? And for that, you will be creating a DAO layer. In DAO layer, have to create two files. One is for the implementation, other is an interface. In the interface you will just specify what operation you want to perform. Like if you can see here, it will telling you just specifying that I want to save a student, I want to get all this particular student, or I want to update it, or I want to delete it. You're specifying here, right? And implementation, you're just implementing those. Okay, right, let's see it. Okay, so we have two student DAO I told you earlier. So it defined the it contract or interface performing the CRUD operations on the student entity, right? In this student DAO implementation, it implement the DAO student DAO interface, right? And uses the Hibernate to perform the actual data. You don't have to write manually SQL queries or something. Okay, you will use the Hibernate inbuilt function to perform all the CRUD operations, right? Okay. So earlier we did an interface as you can see here. Okay, so we have this interface which have these methods. Okay, now if we talk about this implementation, you have to use the model student model, and you have the repository as well. Okay, let's import it as well. Let's from this import it auto wired from the this. Okay, then session factory from like, okay, so what we did, repository. Okay, then we have the session factory Hibernate. It's not suggesting. Similarly for the session. Okay, so after importing, you will get like you can see all the errors are resolved, right?
Hmm.
Okay, okay. Because earlier, if you have not added the Pomodoro experiments, it will not give the suggestions earlier. So now, since you have added, you will get the suggestions as well. Okay, so the thing is that okay, now let's understand. If you now try to understand, it is very simple to understand. So you have the data table. Let's say you have a database in which you have student information. Now, if you want to manipulate that, you want to perform the CRUD operation, right? Now you have specified here or each CRUD operation. Maybe you want to save that student, you want to get all student particular update or delete, whatever. it's already implemented here. And for implement, you have just used the hibernate methods. Okay, you can see is you have used the get current session. Okay, first of all, in each you have created a session, and then you have used the function save or update. Okay, maybe the run an SQL query to get all the result. Okay, get a particular student by passing the ID in the class, right? Maybe to update the student detail by passing the new student object, or maybe deleting that by passing their ID, and right. Okay, so and here we have used another annotation as well. Okay, if I told you add that repository, okay, so this will make the as a okay. So this annotation, Spring annotation, will mark this class as an DAO bean. Okay, this will tell the Spring to automatically detect and register this bean during the component scanning. I told you when we did component scanning, right, in the web.xml, right, in Spring solver, sorry, right, you can see here, right? So we have done here component scanning, right? In this component student app, it will do the component scanning. It will look for all the annotations, okay, and it will identify register this as well. Where is the register? There. So we have added it repository. Okay. So now we have AutoBite as well. So AutoBite basically now I told you we need session factory. So we are not let's say it's defined somewhere else. So we just injecting it, right? So that we can use its various functions. So we are using it. Okay. So we're creating an instance of session factory and was applying the methods. Okay. So added AutoBite basically used for the automatic injection of the session factory bean, right? So which is set up in the Spring configuration. So Spring will inject this Hibernate session factory so that we can interact with the database. Okay, and session is the Hibernate interface that allows to interact with the database. Okay, you can see this session factory dot current get current session is getting the current session per request for interacting with the database, right? Then we have these methods. First one is the save or update. Okay, so it will save or update the student. If the student is already exists, it will check via the ID, right? So if it will update the records, otherwise it will insert a new one, right? Then we have the get all students. In that we using the creating queries. Okay, this will create a hibernate query to fetch all the student records on the database, and executing the query will return and the result as a list. You can see this get result list, right? And then we have the in get student by ID, we have using the session we using the fetching student by its ID primary key, right? And then updates, we are updating student record by using the update methods, and this with this, right? So these are the inbuilt functions: save or update, session.get, or maybe the script queries. Okay, right? So this is so you have the model layer. Okay, then next you have the to perform all the CRUD operations, you have the DAO layer. Okay, and then you will define the service layer. Okay, so in the service layer, basically what happen is your business logic runs. Okay, so in service layer you will be calling these DAO layers. Okay, you are actually performing CRUD operation before and after the CRUD operation you can perform additional checks. Okay, right? So if you're creating a stone, you can perform additional check if all the fields are there or not, or something like that, right? Right, but you're not directly calling all the function of DAO. You by the service layer you're doing that. Okay, just like the DAO layer, you have the same service layer. Okay, you have the first interface, and then the same you have this. Okay, so you can see the auto wired one and the service. Okay, same here. So you can see it's very simple. Okay, to save a student, you're calling the DAO layer save student function. Okay, similarly for the get all student, you're calling the get all of this DAO layer. Then similarly get particular student, we're calling the corresponding DAO layer methods in this. Okay, okay. So I think that was very easy to understand. I hope you were present at that section lecture or not.
In the first
You're
one.
present, right? In which we have done this part, the model part and the DAO part and the service part. Are you
Yeah,
present?
in the last lecture only you did this one. Actually, I was there in the
Yeah,
lecture.
you're present, right?
Yeah, yeah.
In this, there's no doubt in these three, right?
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. We
Okay.
are
Now
creating
the
first a student class, then after that, student DAO interface we are creating. Then after that, implementation of DAO interface. Then after that,
yes.
we are creating the student service. Then again, DAO service, sorry, service implementation class we are creating. Then you told that you will take it, I mean, the onwards after that.
Yes, correctly. So any doubt so far in these three? So remember, your database in a student, okay? Then you can perform on CRUD operation using the DAO, and you are doing that via the service layer, okay? In
Yeah,
doubt in any of these three so far, that is a very important part. I'm just telling it again. If you have any doubt, just let me know.
yeah, it's fine. You can
It's
continue.
fine.
Yeah,
Great. Okay. The next thing is the controller part. Okay. Now you will actually need to define, okay, at what time you will call which service method, right? Okay, let's do it. Okay, now let's now you will create a new class. Okay, you can give it a name, let's say student controller. Okay, student controller. Okay, dot java, no need to write the extension. Okay, and you can define the package. It should be com dot, oh sorry, don't you have these to, what is the name, student
app
app.
dot model.
Yeah, not in the model, you will get a separate folder for the controller. Okay, so you have separate folder for the models, you have separate folder for the controller, you have separate folder for the, you can see this for the DAO.
Hmm.
Okay, okay, so
So
there's different layers,
currently,
right? For
currently you
the
have
model you
created
have separate.
the package, or you have created the class file.
Okay, so when you create a class, in that you can define the package name. If the package
Okay,
not already
understand.
exists there, it will create it for you, right?
Okay,
Okay, you can, like, you see we don't have only the package controllers, it will create for it for us, right? Okay, now let's start. Okay, controller. So you can see this. Okay, we're creating this controller class. Okay, now, so I told you in controller you have to define at what time you need to call which function of the service. That means you're going to use a service layer, right?
yeah.
Okay, so you can inject the service here. For inject, we have which annotation? Remember,
But just
at the rate.
a string, I think auto wire or something.
Correct, auto wire. So we'll use auto wire to inject it. So earlier we have inject DAO inside the DAO inside the service. Now we're injecting the service into the controller. So understand the flow. So you will auto wired. Okay. So we write private. Okay. Student service. Okay. You can use the name student service. Okay.
Sorry for the
So
interruption. Actually, can you just show me the folder structure in the that
yeah,
file?
sure. So you
One
can see
second.
this. We have the this main Java. Inside that you will have the controller folder, DAO folder,
Okay,
model, and
just
service.
one
So
second. Just a
in
minute.
model you have the student.java, in service you have both this file, and DAO you have this both these files, and in controller you have like this we have.
Yeah, fine. Yeah, please go ahead.
Great. Okay. Okay. So next you can first import the auto wired from the Spring framework. Okay, and then student service from the another folder. Yeah. Okay. Now let's start. Okay. Now sometime the user may want all the student list, right? Okay, so let's define that. So we will have public. Okay, so we need to return string list the students. Okay, list the students. Okay, and model. Okay, so this is a get request. Okay, so we write the annotation at that get mapping. Okay, because student want get when the user want all the details. Okay, you will get all the request. Okay, so in that case you will have a student service. Remember, in student service you will call which function? Get all student, right? So remember what it will return, it will return the list of students, right? So we'll store it in
Hmm.
the list of students, list of student. Okay, let's give the name students. Okay, now when you have the list of students, okay, so you will create a model in which you will add this attribute, okay, students, and this data. Okay, remember I told you that in controller will decide which functions to call. So now this is a controller, it is deciding. Okay, when you have the request of this get mapping, it is going to call the service function get all methods and whatever data we get. Okay, so we are returning certain view. Okay, certain view with data. Okay, so data is this data. Okay, so you will get a model with this data. Okay, so model and view returning. So we'll add a model. In model you're setting the attribute, set attributes. Okay, let's import the model first. I think we don't have it. So in Spring framework UI, let's add model. And for the get mapping as well, you can add it. Okay, so student from the student model and the list from the list as well. Yeah, so model dot set sorry, add attribute, add attribute students. Okay, the value will be this data students. Okay, the next you can return the model, okay, which we will define later because we not yet define the GSP pages. Okay, student list. Okay, I told you that we are here writing it is student list. Okay, I remember I told you whenever we are finding any GSP pages, we'll be adding prefix and we'll be adding the suffix, right? So student list mean it will be look for this file inside this folder. Okay, inside this folder webinf has slash views. Inside this we need to add this GSP file, student list.gsp, right? So it will render those. Okay, is it clear?
Yeah, can you tell again, please?
Yeah. I'm just telling. So let's say whenever the user send a request to get all the details, so it will map to this get mapping, right? First of all, it know
Hmm.
that this controller function will be execute, right? Now, first of all, it will call the service layer function get all data. So when he get the data, okay, he will print this model which in which we have added this data, this, and you will return the GSP file with the name return list. Okay,
Hmm.
okay, but you are only
Yeah.
telling the name of the file. You are not adding the extension or not adding the exact locations, but we know we have defined in the XML configuration that it need to be exactly inside webinf slash views, as you can see here. You can see here. So prefix is webinf views and the suffix is .jsp, right? So inside this, if you need to create a files directly student hyphen list.jsp, then it will work fine. Okay.
Hmm.
So we're yeah, this one. This is the one thing that is to get all the students. Okay. Now let's see to add a particular student. Okay. Let's see. Now whenever you want to create a new student, you want to show the form to the user, okay, in which we have the empty fields, right? Okay,
Yeah,
so that is
that
also for
is
the
put at the rate put.
no, okay, see, understand. Okay, so when a user want to create a student, he want to see the form, right?
Hmm.
Okay, when he fill the details, he click on submit button, then he will send the post request, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so when you seeing the form, when you okay, let's say
Get request. Get
there is
request.
a get request when you want to see the form, okay, that is a get
Yeah.
request. Okay, get mapping. Okay, forward slash add, let's say when you want to add a student. Okay, next we have okay, so get mapping, we have this, then we have the public. Okay, then string. Okay, then we have this show add form. Okay, so when you show the add form, you can make it small. Mm-hmm. Model. Okay, so when displaying the form, okay, so actually we need an empty student, right? So you don't need any existing one, so right, so for that you will add a model attribute. Okay, add a attribute. Okay, so the name, okay, sorry, it's student. Okay, with a new object, with a new student, and you need to return the JSP file, which is the student form. Okay, so we'll define what JSP file is soon, right? Okay, is it fine now? Yeah. Okay. Okay, I hope you understand the flow. We started with the model, then we start with the DAO layer, then we start with the service layer, then controller layer, and at the end we just form the GSP views. That is a flow of any project. Okay,
Okay.
great. So now we have shown the form. Then when we fill the form and then we click on submit button, it will call the post mapping. So we have the post mapping. Okay, at the URL slash save, let's say. Okay, and then we'll add a function public string. Okay, let's say save student. So when we are saving the student, we will have the student model already in that, right? Okay, remember when you create a form we have empty model right here. Okay, so when you click on submit button, those model is now filled with all the details. So then we will have these all details. So let's add the this. So we have already student student, which is coming from the model attribute. So we have annotation at the model attribute. Okay, so with the name student, then let's import this. Let's import this as well by showing the error. Did we did something mistake here? So we have this. Let me check. Can you confirm if we have some syntax error done here? Syntax error inside this the class body. Which body? Okay, this one maybe we're talking about. Yeah. Okay. So we have the post mapping here. Okay, so whenever you click on save button, you will call the function of the service layer, which is save button, right? So you have the student service. Okay, in student service, okay, you're calling the function save student and passing the student detail, the student. Okay, is it clear? Is it clear? So now do have after saving this, okay, you will return the view which you need to send, which is return redirect. Just give me 1 minute. Yeah, let's continue. So you have to redirect here, redirect. Okay, colon slash students. Okay, so it's return. Okay, now let's okay, now so we have displayed or we have done for displaying all the students. Okay, so we have shown the form to add a student and then we have shown to save the student. Now you will let's say you want to update the current user, right? So now you want to show the form but now with the details of the student, right? For that again you have to show the form with the details. That send you will send again the get mapping. Okay, but with the URL it says if you want to update it. Okay, so you will have public string show update form. Okay, at the rate request param request param id, then integer id comma model. Okay, so if you want to update a particular model you need must know the id, right? So request params also you need to import. Okay, the next you will get a student with particular id. Okay, student student service. Okay, firstly you will get the details of that particular student and then you display that on the form, right? So but you use the same form, right? So when you click on that, if you can either update it, you can either create it, because you are using a function of hibernate which you can do the either stuff. It's already if already there it will update it, if it's not it will create it, right? So you will use student service. dot get student by id. You will pass the id of whatever you pass in the params, and the next you will create a model attribute, model dot add attribute. Okay, you pass the name, let's say student. Okay, and then you have the student. Okay, and then you return the same student form. Okay, yeah. So at the last you can, okay, so what is happening, let me give you a recap. Okay, so either you can get all the students. Okay, for that you calling this again the student service dot get all student, right? When you get the data, okay, in the model you're adding that data and you're returning student list JSP file in which you're displaying all the student details, right? Okay, let's say you want to get a new student. Okay, for that you have the URL, you want to show the form empty. Okay, that device you have the empty model. Okay, okay, and then if you fill the details, then you can send this method save student of the service to save the data, right? Okay, and then if you want to let's say want to update a particular student, right? You will click on that. Now you want to see this, open the same form again but with the fill data, so that you will pass the id. Okay, and that id will get a student data, and then you will fill that form and then show it. Okay, if again you click on save button, it will either save or update, right? Now the last thing which is left, which is the delete operation. So let's try that as well as that. So we have the get mapping. So that also will use get mapping only. So we have the slash delete. Okay, so we have the public string that's a delete student. Okay, again you need to pass the request parameter id for deleting it. So add the rate request param id integer id. Okay, so then we have the student service. Okay, dot delete student, you can pass the id. Okay, then you have the return redirect slash students. Okay, yeah. Okay, so let's see this. Since this is a controller class, so you need to add a annotation here, controller. Okay, so you will need to let's see, yeah, and you will also add the request mapping here. Okay, whenever you have the request at slash students, something like that, so it will go for this. Okay, slash students, right? So you can have different controllers for different manipulation, right? In currently we have this only, so let's go for this. Okay, yeah. Let me explain you now again. So at the controller when we use it, so basically this mark this class as I hope I'm audible, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So when we use add the rate controller, this will mark this class as a Spring MVC controller. Okay. So again, Spring can detect this and treat it as a handler for the web request, right? So then we have the web request. Let's say request. Then we have the request mapping slash student, right? So basically, this all the users in this controller will start with this slash student, maybe slash students to list all the users, slash student slash add, right, to show the add form. Okay, slash student slash save to save the student, like this, right? And then we have the auto void, okay, service. Okay, basically this is a dependency injection in action, right? So Spring will inject the student service implementation here. Okay, so the controller can use a student service to fetch or save the data, right? Then we have different method. The first method is we have the list students, right? So this will handle the get requests as class students. Okay, it will call the service to get all the student. It will put the list in the model, right? So that JSP pages can access it and return the student list JSP, right? And the next we have the show add form. Okay, basically this we handle the get requested slash students dash add. Okay, it will create a new object of the student and add it to the model. Okay, it will use to bind the form fields, right? And we return the student form JSP file, right? And then we have the save students. Okay, it will handle the post request at the slash student slash save. Spring automatically binds the form data to the student object, and it will call these service functions to save student to persist the data, and it will redirect back to the student list, right? And then we have the show update form. In that also we are handling the get request at slash student slash update and slash in the params also you will add id. Okay, when you add this, when you're writing here params, it will access a id as well, right? It's fetch student by id. Okay, it will add it to the model to okay, so that for fields are pre-filled, and then it return to the student form. Okay, then last we have the delete request. Here also using get request at the slash student slash delete. After this we're passing the id. Okay, then student is returned by using the id, and after that we are redirected to the slash student page, right? Okay,
Yeah.
so basically can you tell me how many JSP files we need? One is for student list, one is a student form. Is anything else we need? No, so we just need only the two JSP, right?
One for this.
Student list,
Uh,
and so one is student form. I think there's no other file, right? We need,
yeah.
right?
Y-
Okay, yes, you have a doubt, please ask.
No, it's okay.
Okay, you can ask if you have any. Okay, let me share this file meanwhile. Okay.
Yeah, one question I have here on the
Mm-hmm.
line 33, we are doing
30.
get mapping. Get
Okay,
mapping, suppose we are fetching the data, but why we are doing the add in this
no,
slash
no, no,
add?
it's okay. Let's say when you open a website, okay,
Uh,
you are sending a get request at slash students slash slash this one. Okay, this is URL at the top. Okay, you can say http, okay, local host colon 8000, let's say, slash students. You're sending this request, right? So it will display all the students, right? Like the student one. Okay, okay, let's say name maybe Amir, right? Okay, let's say email maybe Amir 123 at the rate at the rate gmail.com. Okay, we have name, email, and course, let's say DSA, right? And you have two options to update and delete. Okay,
yeah,
right? Let's say like with this, you're displaying the details of other student as well. Okay, this is for an example. And at the top you have the add option button. Okay, okay, for delete and update is corresponding to each student, right? Now when you click on this, go to this URL, it will give you all student list, student details. Okay, as you can see here. So when you go to this normal one, it will give the student details, right, by using the student list form. So this is a student list with JSP form, right?
yeah,
So now when you click on add button, okay, when you click on add button, you want to see the form, right?
yeah,
Okay, empty form. Okay, in which you have the email like a name, email, and then I think course, and then submit, right? Okay, right?
yeah,
So this will happen when you click on the add button, and when you click on add button, the URL will change to what? It will change to slash student slash add, this one. Then you will see this JSP view. That I told you, no? So when you send a request, that request is handled by the dispatcher server. That is your controller. Controller will decide, depending on the request, which functions to call, and then which function. That function will depend how to modify the data, depending on the service layer, DAO layer in between we have, right?
hmm,
Okay. Now when you click on add button, it will show the form. When you click on submit button, it will send the post request. See, post request here, add slash save. Okay, you're sending the post request now at this localhost 8000 student slash save. Okay, now
yeah.
let's say when you click on delete function, you're sending the get request again, but you're passing the ID as well at the end.
Yeah, so when we are adding some details, then we need to put add, and then if we want to save, we can do the save button from that save.
Yeah,
If we want to delete, then we need to call the delete method. Correct?
yes, correct. That is very evident, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, great.
understood.
Okay. So in JSP file, you will need to tell that when you click on this, which path to which URL to call, right? That automatically do it work. Okay, we'll see that now. But before that, let me share this code as well. So just go through that. Sorry. Okay.
Student controller.
I'm not able
Uh,
to. Let me share the doc. I think that will be easy for you.
yeah, yeah, that will be easy. I will save that file.
No, no, the saving part I will share you the code or that one itself. What it say?
But you
The zip
will
file.
share the end na once the project will, I mean the it will
No,
finish.
now only I can share, but it's not beneficial for now. Okay, let me share the Google Doc quickly. Let me just create it. Hmm, 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 hmm.
From separately, no need to create. I think you can just right click save as and you can save at some location. You give some
Yeah, I'm creating that only. Just give me 1 minute.
SQL Java batch like
Yeah, yeah. Just to give me a minute.
day one, day two, day three like that.
Oh, I'm creating the Google Doc only, in which I will regularly update it. Okay. So okay, I was sharing the link in the chat. Just check, check and let me know if you are able to access it or not. Are you able to open it?
Yeah, I'm able to open it, but the
Okay.
thing
So
is
what I
that
will do, what I will do is after the class, I will add all the files content with the name, that's the name of the file and the content. Okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Anything
That's it.
else?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. For now, just go through this. Okay, and revise all the flow, starting from the model, then DAO layer. Okay, then service layer, and then what we have controller layer. Okay.
So after break, you have created this file only, or is there any other file also there apart
I
from
think
this?
controller itself only, right?
Hmm.
Controller.
One
You
more
have
file was there, I think, if I'm not
I don't think
wrong.
so. No, controller only.
Controller
After
only.
break, okay, before break we created the web.xml and Spring Servlet.
So you are taking right now break, or you will continue, or what you will
No,
do
I am
after?
continuing only.
Okay.
I'm telling you, just go through the stuff. Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
I think you already have the code for the student model DAO and the service layer, or not?
Yeah, the first class code I have that one. Yeah.
Yeah, great. If you
But
have,
the
just
file
go.
name wise, I will categorize, but it will take little time. I
Okay,
will.
let me just quickly share that on the doc itself. Okay, this it will take hardly 1 to 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, just checking, keep checking the doc if you're able to see that as well. Let me just do it from this. Let's say we have the student.java. Okay, after that we have the just we have the DAO interface. Okay, interface, and then we have the DAO implementation. Okay, the name of the class is the name of the file. Just keeping that in mind. Okay, then we have the service interface. Okay, and then we have the service implementation, and then we have the controller. Okay, let me just now the paste the code. So we have the student model DAO interface.
Actually, I will tell you more easy way. It is good you are doing this, but see the file that you have already. You just click. You make one location like you have put it Java, na? Java class day one, day two. In the day one, you just save that and share the Google link for that. Simple. No need to copy paste all these doing these things.
Can you repeat what you're saying?
Just you select one folder like Java or anything. Day one, day
Mm-hmm.
two, you can make there and
Mm-hmm.
just click on this. Can you show me the Eclipse ID? Your Eclipse ID?
Sure. My screen is not visible to you.
No, I can see your screen only, but not Eclipse ID.
What you
It
can
is
see?
it is showing just Abhishek
Okay,
Garg.
great.
That's it.
Let me share it again. Yeah, now.
Now it's okay. Eclipse
Yeah,
ID,
yeah.
can you open? Yeah, now right click on this, just save as. There is some option.
Mm,
No, no, on check on the corner side file here. Yeah, save as. Yeah, you can save at particular location. Day one, day two. Make one folder like Java. You have put it na Java
okay, you're
location.
saying for
You
that
make
particular version, right? And
not
but that
the
particular day,
version.
how much progress you've done for that, you're saying, right?
No, actually, you can make one Java, one
Yeah,
folder
I
Java
can
in
understand.
inside.
I got it. I got it. Got it. Got it.
In Java, you can make day one, day two, and you can share that particular location in the Google Docs. Either you can link that to Google Docs, and I will check from there itself. No need to copy paste. Only one time you need to create the folders. That's it. Then after that, just save, save, save.
I got it.
That's it.
But I don't.
You can do in your way, no issue. But just I was
Yeah,
telling
yeah.
that this.
I got your point. I got your point.
Yeah.
Let me just quickly do this. Okay, I don't know whether.
Okay.
So, which we have is this, because I need to remove the code as well later, right? I don't want to fill my
No,
memory.
once you will save na, you can do anything. You can remove it or you can do anything. I think you can save once you will save na in the day one, like student servlet service dot java or like student service implement it will save all the content of this file to that location. Then after that you
Okay,
can delete
okay,
from here, I think.
okay, okay. Yeah. For now, it is done. You can just go through that. Okay,
Uh,
and then we will do the JSP part. Okay. Oh,
uh,
any doubt? First of all, in this,
no, no, no doubt.
great. Just go through that. Once you're done, just let me know. Okay. Take 5 to 10 minutes. Then we'll continue. Okay.
Okay.
Great. Thank you.
Hello.
Yes, Pawan.
Can we continue?
Hello.
Yes.
Just a minute. Just a minute.
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, what are you saying something?
No, no, just I say, can we continue or we have to wait more?
No, no, you're done with that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, no, we can continue. Just give me 1 minute.
Okay.
Yeah. Are you able to see my screen?
Hmm.
Okay, great. Let's start with this. Okay, now we will create a views. Okay, so I told you we just need only two views. Okay, one is to list and this is a form one. Okay, let's start with the this. Okay, sorry. Inside this, we'll create a new file. Okay, you can give it a name, student list dot JSP. Okay. So this is like the HTML file in which you can just add the Java code as well, right? So let's add it. So we have the HTML. Okay, you can assume like that, and then we have the um, head section. Okay, in head section you can specify the title of the same. Okay, you can specify the title. Okay, let us give it the student list. Okay, and then you have a body. Okay, I hope you are aware with the HTML syntax, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, let's insert body. Let's have the heading to h2. Inside, let's say student list. Okay, I told you below we will add a short table. In table format, we'll display the ID, name, department, country, actions, whatever you want to add, you can add, right?
yeah,
So that below you will have a table. Okay, in table you can add a border of the width one if you want to add. Okay, okay, sorry, yeah. Inside the table you can have the first you can cite the all the headings, right? So you can have the table row, first one. Okay, so in first row you can have all the headings. So you will be having heading, let's say ID. Okay, you can do for other as well. You have the name, I think, email and course and actions, right? Name, email, and you have the course, and you have the actions, right? So you have this. Now below that, now for let's say you're fetching the data. Now for each of the row, you have to create the corresponding row in this table, right? So here you will be using the syntax. Okay, so C for each. Okay, for each of the students. So what are the items we have? Is the students, right? So we're fetching it from the dollar curly bracket students. So remember, so in the modular we have added the data which is students. So this is there. So for each of the items of students, what we're going to do is, so you have to mention the square brackets. Okay, so you can write a variable name. This is student. Okay, one by one we'll fetch the student detail. Okay, so what you're making for each of this, you can close this. Okay, for each. Okay, now here for each of this is going to get a table row. Okay, and in this for each table row you have a table data. Okay, so corresponding to the ID, you want to fetch the ID, name, email, and the course, right? So name, ID for the email, then email, the course. Okay, so then write the value here of the student dot ID. Okay, and then you will have the dollar student dot name. Okay, and then you will have the dollar student dot email. Okay, and then dollar student dot course. Okay, okay, so we have apart from this we will having the one more data in which we have been two actions. One is remember update and delete, right? So one more table data. Okay, in which we having the two options. One is to delete, one is to edit or update, and another one to delete, right? Now I told you whenever you want to delete the function, you have to send a request. What is send request? Slash student slash delete, and you have to pass the ID, right? Okay. So here you can pass the href attribute, okay, which you want to call, which is students, okay, slash delete. Okay. So here you can pass the ID as well. Okay, from which is coming from the student ID. Student ID. That is one thing. And when you click on update, so again you have to send, sorry, you have to send on students, because when you click on edit you want to see the form, right, with the filled data. So again you have to call the slash update, and you have to pass the ID of the let me check the in this controller. So we have update or something as your update, you can see update and delete. Okay, so we'll pass the ID, which is the coming from the student ID. Okay. Okay.
So here we have update as well as delete, both.
What no no,
Up-
it's like I told you here in you first in you have the different columns, right? First column will show the ID, second column name, third email, fourth course, and in the last column you have the
Edit
actions,
and
the
delete, yeah.
edit and delete. Yeah.
What about
So when you click on
save?
delete,
Save,
what?
save, save.
Okay. Yeah. So in the first JSP file, you're displaying all the data, right? You're
Yeah.
seeing all the student data with the option you can delete that student or you can update that student, right?
But
So when you click,
once you will try to do edit, then after that you need to save also, na? How it
yeah,
will
that what
be?
I'm telling you. So when you
Uh,
click on edit, it will open a form, right?
yeah, yeah.
That is a different JSP, right?
Hmm.
Okay, when you open a form with that field data, in that you have an option to save, right? Not in this.
Yeah,
Similarly, we will when you click on add button, it will open a form with empty data, and in that you have the save button, right?
yeah,
So I forgot to add a add, so let's add that as well. Okay, so below student you can add a add option. Okay, the saving will be in a another JSP, the form
yeah.
one.
No,
Okay, so we need to create a separate JSP
yeah,
for,
yeah.
yeah. So you have href, so you have the, sorry, anchor tag href students slash add, right? I think that was we have added add, and you can say add new student. Yeah. Okay. Hmm. So before using the syntax, we need to add the above line as well. Just like we have for HTML, we have the docked up declarations. Same for XML, and same for this we have. Okay. So this is we have to use every time. Add the tag library URI http java dot sun dot com slash jsp slash jstl slash core, and you can say the prefix is c, right? So that we can use this one. So next we have this. So for each, so we have not clauses. Okay, let me check. Maybe the that is not imported successfully. Okay, we'll see if it's not able to render it perfectly or not. Yeah. So I told you one is this one, other is a form.jsp file, right? Which you have to create a student form, right? So one is the student list which we created. Another one which we need is the student form. Okay, let's create the another file. So we have one more student form, new file, student form uh sorry.
What was the name of the last file? Student.list.
Yeah, let me rename this as well. Okay, let me just forward to add the JSP new file, JSP file here. What was the name? Student form dot
But I think
JSP.
you need to mention the JSP here. It is already JSP. If you are selecting JSP file, then you still
Yeah,
need.
yeah. Earlier I select normal file. That's why.
Okay. What about student list file? That was also JSP or
Yeah, actually, I in that case also I selected the empty file and given the extension myself. This time I selected JSP explicitly, so I don't need to mention the extension.
okay.
Yeah. So you can see this. We have default content here, heading. Okay. Okay. So for this, you can add the head title as submit student. You already have done for student list. Now let's try for the submit form. It's a student form. Okay. Okay. Now let's try the body. Okay. So, okay, I told you the same JSP we need to use either for the add and update. Okay, so if we have the ID, okay, okay, that means a student ID is not null, or okay, so it will be adding a student, or okay, else it will updating a student, right? So we'll add h2 dollar student dot ID. So is equal to 0. So we are adding a student, else we will update the student. So basically we need to create a form here. Okay, yeah. So I told you this, the whenever you click on submit button of this forms, you will be entering the action slave. So it will go to slash save, right? And the method which you need to send is the post in both the case, right? To save, because the same function will handle the post and that, right? So post. Okay. Now next inside that form you will have one input. Okay. For the name. Okay. Okay. Now actually we had four things: ID, name, email, and the course, right? So the ID part is hidden, right?
Hmm.
So input type is hidden. You can give it the name, ID. Okay, the value is coming from student ID, right? Because when you send it to, we need all the fields, right, required. So value dollar student ID. Then next we have to print the name. Okay, so name we have the email, and we have the course, right? And then we have the submit button. So let's get in input type, which is submit. Okay, and value is also save. Okay, this one we have, and for the input we can also input type is text for this. Okay, and name we can give it the name itself. Okay, and the value will be coming from the student name. Okay, and you can make this field required. Okay, sorry, required. Okay, okay, then you can add a break here. So then for the email also you can similarly add an input. Okay, type will be the email. Okay, and the name of the field will be the email only. So the value will be coming from the student email. Okay, if it's empty it will remain the blank, right? If it's updating one, so it will have some values. So students email. Okay, you can make this field as well as required. Okay, required. So here it will come. Okay, so similarly for we can get for the course as well. So we have the input type can be the text again, and you can again pass a name as the course. Okay, and the value as the dollar student course, and then you can make it the required. Okay, yeah, then you can break it. Okay, that we have. So in this, if I talk about main stuff, we have C for each. Basically, this is the JSTL loops to display each of the student. Then add the student. Basically, it refers to the list in the model we have, and then student name. Again, the binds the form field to the object properties. Okay, action save we have here. Okay, action save you can see here. Basically this is to map to slash student slash save post method, right? You can see the submission of post, right? Then we have the hidden field as well, right? Keeping the id during the update operation, right? That's thing we have. Okay, so basically we get two form JSP views. One is to display all the pages, display, sorry, all the students, right, with the edit and delete option, and the second is to the student form to create and update the form, right? So let me paste that as well in the doc, then you can go through that as well. Just let give me okay, so we have the student list, then we have the student form.
Both are inside which directory? The directory structure.
Yeah, just give me 1 minute.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so both are inside. Let me take a screen.
Yeah, screenshot of this one. Yeah.
Yeah, this one I will show. Paste on here. Okay, so just go through that, okay, for 5 to 10 minutes, then we will
Take the
proceed.
screenshot of that structure also, directory structure.
Which one? The
Directory
folder
structure.
structure.
Yeah, yeah.
Just a minute. I have taken, I think, already. Let me paste it. I will make the zip of the project as well and share with you. Okay. once we are done with this. Okay, for now just, yeah, for now just I've added a two JSP file content, just see that. Okay, and it will vary depending on the project, right, which fields are there, so depending on that it will be very little bit, right? But I hope you get a general idea, okay, how to proceed with such project, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, just go through the code and let me know if you have any doubt. Okay,
Can
we'll
you please
continue.
paste that folder structure also? Because see, I
Yeah,
can.
I think I already I pasted it. Just check it once if you're able to see it at the
Yeah,
bottom.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Now got. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, thanks.
Because see, I can also create in the same way in my.
Yeah, sure, sure,
Yeah, yeah.
no worry.
If any confusion, then otherwise I have to
Yeah, yeah,
call
I'm here. If
you.
you have any doubt, just let me know. Okay.
Okay. So now we have created two file. One is student form. The second is a student list. Both are JSP file. Correct.
Yes, just to render or the front end part.
One is for edit and delete, and the other one is for the creation, student form creation.
The
Correct?
one will display the data in which you're displaying all the student data along with the option to delete and the edit as well as add. In second, we're
Mhm.
showing the form in which we either can update or we can add, and with the submit button which will create or update it.
Delete, update, and submit. Right.
Yes.
And in one we can update and delete or
Yeah,
add.
we'll see the option to delete, we'll see the option to edit, but it will open the form in the another JSP.
So this student list will open the form in another, you mean, or in,
No, no, no. See, so
once
we have
we
one.
are doing saving, once we are editing, then it will open the form in other window. Correct?
Yes, yes, yes.
Mm.
Correct. When you run it, you will understand better. Don't worry.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So just give me 1 minute.
Are you there, Abhishek? Hello. Hi.
Yeah, yeah, Pawan, I'm there.
Yeah, I have this doubt. See, this deploy once you created the this package and all these files. When you created this deploy, because I cannot to find is this we need to create separately deployed file, or
Which
is
file?
this
Which file? Which file? Which file?
deployment descriptor as well as deployment resources file deployed resources? We need to create separately, or it's coming automatically when we are creating
Okay,
this
okay. So when you okay, let me share the pom.xml as well.
mhm,
I think I've not shared that, right?
deployed resources.
No, pay pom.xml. When you run the pom.xml, it will give automatic this structure. Okay, so
Okay,
don't
okay.
worry. Let me share in the end of the doc. Let me share it. Yeah, just check the pom.xml. Okay.
Okay, so you mean when we are writing in the POM XML, pom.xml, then after
Yeah,
once we are running that file, it will automatically creating these files.
yeah, exactly, exactly, exactly.
Okay, okay. So before it was not there, only today it's there. Good.
Yes.
Okay,
Wait.
understand. Hello, hello.
Yes, Pawan, done.
Abhishek, yeah, done. If you want to continue, continue. If you want to break, let me know, please.
No, tell me what you want.
No, it's okay for me. I think 5:10 till 8:30 we can continue. After that, we can wind up.
Sure. So you can just go through the stuff, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe in the upcoming lecture we can see, okay, while running it, if we are facing any issue, we'll troubleshoot that, okay? And then, meanwhile, I would just want to, okay. So the one thing is that we will do in the upcoming session is uh, we'll run this, and if we get an error, we try to solve that. Apart from that, what I want is, since we have a lecture a couple of days later, so I want to you to practice a similar task as well, right? So for now, just I want to explain what us you can build, right?
Mm-hmm.
So just like I have taken a scenario, okay,
Mm-hmm.
let's say we have taken a students data, right? So in which we can perform the CRUD operations on students, right? Like we can get all the students updated, deleted, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what I expect from you is a similar task, right? Let's pick a scenario. Okay, let's say you have the movies data.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, okay, or maybe anything, the shows data or products data, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I want you to do the similar thing in which you can display all the products. Okay, display particular products, create a new product. Okay, delete a new product, or maybe edit a new product, right? Or for that you have to create first model, okay, then the DAO classes, okay, how you can perform the CRUD operations, and the service layer, and then the controller layer, like that way, okay.
Okay.
Okay, and I don't expect you to write any XML file. I just want to write this logic for these files: model, controller, service, DAO. Okay, that is
Okay.
what is more important, right? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
Okay.
once we are done with that, when we are able to once we are able to run my project as well, and once we are unable to run your sample project, then we move to a little bit harder tough topic, right? Okay,
Okay.
we'll include multiple models and more complex scenarios, okay. Okay, we'll add filterings and a lot of other stuff, pagination, a lot of stuff to be there coming, okay.
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 Fine.
Okay,
Can I
so
get the content of that POM XML also?
have you shared in the that file, right, also?
1 second. Yeah, yeah. In the last year, you have said.
Yeah, I've already added.
Yeah.
Okay, so for now, you can just try doing that task. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
okay, you have a time. If till 9. If you want to do a ask and out, you can ask. I'm there. Okay, for you. Okay. If you do want to do
The
it later, that is also fine. I'm fine with
later I
that.
will do now.
It's
Actually,
your wish. Yes, your wish. If you have other task at a time, you want to do it later, no worry. You can do it later. In the next lecture, you can ask it out. Okay.
so in the next lecture, we will try to run this particular task that
Yeah,
we
I will run
completed.
this and then we wind this project. Okay. And then I expect you to at least write the code. Okay. Not the full code, but the files which I told you, right?
Yeah, yes, sure.
Yeah, that's it. And then we'll
I
start
will
with
try to
another.
practice.
Yeah.
I will try to practice in weekdays for
No
that.
worry. Whenever you have the time, you can do it. And next day, since this is the first project, we are getting used to it, so it's take longer time. But for the upcoming project, since we already know the concept, we quickly finish the project on each day, right?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Will not take that much time. That's what I'm saying. So yeah, in next lecture, we'll expect the same things to do. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So what we have to do? Okay, that's it from there. Okay.
You have, Abhishek, you have files of first day,
Yes.
day one that you
Which
started.
files?
Day one you started for some, I mean, some concept on Spring
I
or
think that is
some.
a theoretical concept, right?
You have that file?
I'm not sure about that. Let me find. Do you remember which name I saved that?
No, I don't know. I was not in that class. Otherwise, I have
Okay, no
taken.
worry. I will create a new file and I will add explanation. Okay, in that. Okay, again.
Okay.
Or you can ask the person. I think it was someone. I don't remember the name. I will. Don't worry. I will find it and I will share it. If you're not fine, I will create it again. Okay.
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 Right.
Anything else?
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah,
Uh,
no worry. You can
uh,
continue task. If you want to do in later, that's also fine.
yeah, we
Bye.
can drop, I think. Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
And thanks. Bye.